citizens of Rome, hear me, your humble chronicler of our glorious past. I, the keeper of daily Roman updates, inscribe tales of our empire's deeds upon tablets shared across the forum, the agora of distant lands, and the grand amphitheaters of vision and sound. Though my words recount triumphs and trials from centuries gone, even those of our ancestors' ancestors, daily I receive scrolls filled with fury. Some with threats of daggers and death, from souls enraged by the truths I share. These are the tidings from my letterbox.
I am deeply, esoterically, and transversely convinced Caesar was a proletarian hero, and one of the greatest disservices l'Internationale did to mankind was advancing the idea by which the fairest society would be without Caesar. I have an unhealthy obsession over defending Caesar as the greatest man besides Christ, and hold multiple theories surrounding him. Being the archetype of the greatest hero, I believe his assassination actually was needed to prove just how great Caesar is. I'm convinced his death was a holocaust towards a greater stage of Roman society, and that he was destined to be holocaustized because he was the purest and greatest of all Romans. I have come to the point I will quote. https thelatinlibrary.com marks.html to prove my point on how great Caesar and Augustus were to the Roman people. Thus, in the long run to mankind, I have grown to hate Germanics in the most aristocratic way possible, to the point I actively see Latins superior not per genetics, au contraire in that case perhaps, but per ideas and national character. Sometimes I will add personam people when I disagree with them on the internet and call them Germanics, Hannibal cuck mudbathers, the only bad thing the Roman Empire could have ever possibly done against Germanics was not being harsh enough on them. I defend Roman war crimes I never heard of. I don't go around saying, well, those were other times. I actively encourage them, whatever they did to Boudica and her daughters. It wasn't enough. I dream of the day the Catholic Orthodox schism is over, and the U.S., alongside Italy, pushes Europe towards the formation of a Holy People's Roman Empire which will remove the last drags of Germanic and Slavic barbarism and elevate all non-Latins of Europe into true sapience. I dream of the day I can call myself Roman in a non-LARP-sounding way. I dream of the day a new Roman Empire is established by which it rules from the Americas all the way to Asia, per every proper civilization the empires born from Rome created. I dream of the day the working people will chant, "Hail Caesar! Those about to die salute you." If I go to heaven, I know Caesar will be there, and I wish to shake his hand and profoundly express my eternal admiration towards the likes of him. I'm not even an expert on Roman history, nor so I speak Latin. People say I'm uber-autistic on Caesar. I am, by all chances, I would call my firstborn Italo, and my secondborn Caesar, the thirdborn Augustus. If Caesar were alive today, I would do anything he asks. When I read the Jews saying they only listen to Caesar, I smirk, knowing Caesar wouldn't have approved of their behavior. I shake my head so as to let know I do not mean Caesar as vulgarly as they do. Caesar was the Übermensch.
I saw Gladiator too. Oh boy. The best way to describe it is an imitation or remake of the original, lacking everything that made the original worthwhile. The CGI was poor, making things seem fake. The pacing was rushed. A bunch of plot points make no sense. Lucius just randomly decides the dream of Rome is real. Some former slave manages to nearly take over Rome. Both the Roman army and the Praetorians take Lucius's word that he's the true heir. Not to mention the historical inaccuracies. During the naval battle, the main character said it was celebrating the Battle of Salamis, a Greek battle. Then they said, Persians versus Trojans. The Trojans were never at Salamis. They had been destroyed in the Bronze Age collapse. How do you mess up that badly? Also, Why are the emperors portrayed as twinks? Virtually the entire plot was a rehash of the first movie. Big battle, guy's wife dies, guy gets sold into slavery. Gladiator works with the slave owner and Lucilla to overthrow the empire. It goes wrong. The gladiators stage an uprising and a final duel between the hero and villain. It's a shoddy remake of the first movie. It's as if Zack Snyder made a historical film.
Did you know that according to prophecies in Islam, you'll get back Constantinople? That was the good news. The bad news, the prophecies say we, true Muslims, not crazy Turks, will reconquer it again. So when that happens, try to enjoy it as much as you can before it goes back to us. But when the prophecy comes true, you must believe and convert. Then you'll have your Constantinople forever. Haha.
Hello, please stop your Caligula slander. It is not factual and is pushed by biased historians. I will now debunk the claims commonly made against him. He committed incest. The only source that backs this up is Suetonius, a guy who hated Caligula because he didn't suck up to the Senate, and who also didn't even live at the time Caligula lived. None of the other huge critics of Caligula mentioned this. Philo didn't, Seneca didn't, not even Tacitus. And Tacitus tried to portray Agrippina the Younger as an incestuous degenerate who tried to sleep with her own son. An incest story with Caligula would have fit very well, but somehow he didn't mention anything like that. He got super paranoid, mentally ill after 39 AD and randomly tortured and executed members of the Senate. Yeah, that's because of the huge conspiracy within the Senate that happened in 39 AD, one of the traitors being the senator Caligula trusted the most. The reason this is never mentioned is because Suetonius left it out in his biography of Caligula, probably with malicious intent, but he clearly knew about it and even mentions the 39 AD conspiracy in his biographies of Claudius and Vespasian. It's also backed up by Cassius Dio. He secretly visited pubs and brothels while he was on Capri with Tiberius. Again, the only source is Suetonius, and even if this guy was trustworthy regarding information about Caligula, there are neither any literary mentions nor any archaeological findings that prove or even indicate the existence of any pub or brothel on Capri. He did weird, nonsensical training with the troops stationed on the Upper Rhine. Again, a claim only made by Suetonius, and the fact that there were many really successful military actions in the Upper Rhine territory during Caligula's reign also seems to contradict this claim. He waged war against the sea and made his soldiers collect seashells as spoils of war. Important context is left out. This happened when his soldiers were supposed to sail over to Great Britain, but it's very likely that they mutinied over this plan since the island wasn't considered part of the known world. A mutiny just like that happened in 43 AD, under the reign of Claudius as well. Caligula probably gave them this task to later publicly ridicule them for their fearfulness. He built a brothel with married women on the Palatine, and then lent money at an interest rate because he needed money. First of all, Suetonius again. Second of all, you don't construct a big building and lend money when you don't have a lot of money at your disposal. Lastly, Cassius Dio describes what actually happened. Caligula built a house for the wives and children of the members of the Senate to live in, where the Praetorian Guard had easy access to them, so he could kill the families of the Senate if another conspiracy was planned against him. Caligula was cruel, yes, but not insane or degenerate. Caligula thought he was a god. The idea to worship Caligula as a god didn't originate from him, but from Lucius Vitellius, who performed proskynesis when approaching him. Also, since 400 BC, it was possible to call emperors or people who accumulated a lot of wealth gods in Greece, and many Romans, especially the aristocrats, knew about this as well. Julius Caesar was called Jupiter Julius. Augustus was called God by Ovid, Propertius, and Horace. Activities of the emperor during Tiberius's time were called holy activities. The whole god thing originated from the Senate in an attempt to flatter him, like they did with other emperors before him. Caligula was just the first to not reject them, but to let it happen. He cynically exposed this sycophantic behavior to the public. He gave his favorite horse a house, servants, and tableware, and wanted to appoint it as a consul. This proposal was done as a cynical joke, not because he was insane. House, servants, and tableware are typical elements of aristocratic status. Consul was the most honourable and highest function an aristocrat could acquire. The message was that Caligula could appoint anyone he wanted as a consul, that they didn't own their functions because of themselves, but because of him. It was meant to humiliate them because he despised the Senate for their continuous betrayal and hypocrisy, as you may already have guessed. I can elaborate and provide sources for any of the points and can also falsify other claims made about him. I can also elaborate on why Caligula hated the Senate so much. Spoiler, it's actually reasonable. I hereby humbly ask you to not make any posts that imply he's insane in the future. Signed, Anne, I can fix him girl.